Hey everyone, if you don't know me, I am AJ or Night Alchemy. I am the project lead and the creator of the PANDORA Project. Today I'm talking to you about how Pandora came to be, since I realized most of you don't actually know the story. I have stuck some analysis in there, and I'm going to be talking about a lot of project relevant stuff, so I'd like to invite you to stick around even if you don't really care about how we came to be, because there's a lot packed in here for you. Let's get started. So the story really starts with how I hadn't really thought about Minecraft in years. And sometime in March 2021, over a shamrock shake with my younger brother, he talked about how he wanted to start a Minecraft YouTube channel. So I decided to help him understand a little bit better what he would need to do to achieve that goal. So at the time, Technoblade was literally the only MCYT name that I knew. And that was only because my little brother had been talking about him so much. But I pretty quickly stumbled into the Dream SMP fandom and everything that was there, and I was kind of hooked. It was such a powerful story. It had like the perseverant spirit of the Discourse, the joyful beginnings of L'Manberg. You know, I fell in love with the world of the SMP. I was really invested as I first heard famous lines like white flags at dawn and it was never meant to be. I mourned the fall of L'Manberg with famous Dream SMP songs on loop. And then I met Ghostber. And Ghostber, he changed everything and nothing. There was nothing extraordinary about him for plot reasons, except for, he was a ghost, but he was so integral to the creation of Pandora. And so, yeah, it went like this. I watched Ghostber and realized something about him that I didn't really see anyone else talking about. So I went to run some ideas by some old friends who I talk with about books and shows all the time. I introduced them to Ghostber, and I still have this amazing poetic description of him as infinitesimally happy, phantom of a president's tragedy. And so I explained how Wilbur was killed by his own father and left behind a nation in ruins. I talked about this one little moment between Phil and Ghostber that interested me to no end. Ghostber, while being babysat by Phil, is standing at the entrance to Phil's house, I think it was. He says something along the lines of, "It's raining," and proceeds to touch the rain and go,
"That was me touching the rain."
Phil tells him not to, but he does it a few more times and then laughs. I explained to my friends that if the rain hurts him and begins to make him melt, then it's not exactly going to be fun for him to touch it. He goes around with his blue all the time, smiling and acting all happy, but this moment for me puts that all into question before I even saw him mourning friend. Ghostber stands at the end of this metaphorical downpour of sadness. He's close enough to touch it, but sometimes he brushes up against it and we see him hurting, reaching out into the rain. But most of the time he shelters away from it any way he can because he just can't bear that burden. It's kind of the perfect symbol of what's happening below the surface for him. My friends and I talked about it, and they eventually started asking more about the blue itself. This led me having to kind of explain that due to the nature of storytelling, we don't actually know if the blue changes color or not. And that was how I ended up bringing in the word Minecraft into the scenario. And as soon as that word got thrown out there, the conversation turned to other subjects. And so I decided to test it out a bit and see if other people would react the same way. And yeah, whenever I mentioned Minecraft, the conversation would die out, no matter who I was talking to, except for a couple of online friends who listened, which was amazing. So I decided I would prove that it was a story worth sharing. And I started to formulate a paper. I reached out to the absolutely lovely Blueberry TV, who shared her thoughts on the Dream SMP with me and then connected me to others to talk to. and I began to create the basis for my paper. And I met some absolutely extraordinary people who I decided to invite to my own small server so that we could talk some more, and eventually invited them to join me in writing the paper itself. We became really a team, from like analysis and deep conversations every day to dumb bread wars and whatever. And it was really amazing. Eventually we decided that we should probably get out of Blue's hair and start doing discussions and stuff on our own public server. And with that, I spent literal hours trying to think up a name for us and settled on the Pandora Project. Pandora is actually an acronym for Preserving Active Narrative Diversity Out of Research and Analysis, which is a mouthful that just means storytelling needs to be diverse. And we're gonna prove it. Pandora was also like, it was the symbolic good coming out of the Pandora's box that can sometimes be MCYT. And yeah, we were born. Since then, our project has grown from me just talking with a couple of people to our server, which is growing steady at like 100 members. And we have a YouTube hot on its tail. We've talked to people like Derivacat and Precious Julamore, and we're planning to reach out to so many more. This year we want to do so much more. We have a goal of about 1,000 subscribers by the end of this year, so subscribe to Pandora. And yeah, sometimes it might look like we're not really going anywhere fast, but it's a beginning. This is our L'Manberg. And it may feel like it's been completed, but we have so much more to go. And I'm so excited for what's going to come. I'm glad for our unfinished symphony. The only difference is our symphony is still going.